10 seconds, 11, 12. Apparently we're live. I wonder how much of the beginning will have been lost on the rerun. It doesn't matter. I was just saying that I'm live and I have no restrictions in chat. So there are minimal people who are blocked from commenting on this, on these lives or on anything. Like, very minimal. There are no restricted words. There is no time delay. So you can spam the chat if you want. But routinely, I just repeat the word routinely until I know what the next word is. I don't see your chats. And then afterwards, the YouTube studio might say, oh, you had 5 chats. And I'm like, well, I saw exactly none of them. All messages. Anything else? Automatic translation. Live chat is on. Live chat summary is on. Participant mode, anyone. Message delay, none. Blocked words, none. I hope that didn't cut me off there where I was just looking at the settings. I was saying blocked words, none. Time delay, none. Oh, let's cut to the chase. I'm really happy with the last 3 live streams that I recorded. Then I'm more happy, so that would have been like in the last week. Primarily, it was like Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Then I'm really happy that I cut a 3-minute short from one of the live streams and an 8-minute short. They're complete thoughts, whereas when AI has been selecting my shorts for me, which is doing during the live performance, it is consistently cutting a short to the point of the most sort of like if there's any stress or drama, it will cut that point. And they've been a bit out of context. So previously I'd been sharing shorts which AI had cut, and now no longer. And I had been saying for a long time that I needed to cut some shorts. And I'd been saying, does anyone else want to cut shorts? And now it is really up to me to do it, and I've done it, and I'm really happy with it, even if I got like 17 views on the 8-minute short that I cut. I uploaded, this is like a review of the last week, really. I still don't see anybody here, so if you're here, hi. There was a couple of other videos, wasn't there? There's a video called RK Max, which I screenshot some of that recording from the original video. There's some of my own comments in there. I did consider, do I hold this back and just screen grab it as it is without littering it and defacing it with my own graffitied comments in the chat? But that didn't happen. I just shared it as is because we have some freedom of speech here. And it wasn't only my comments that were showing in that video. There was tons of other comments from other people previously who'd commented on that video of Rahi Kanu. So it stayed as it was. So just sharing the joy of my pasty face here right now to say, well, I had a good week here, I believe. I am like halfway through my second parasite cleansing, active cleansing week. I had a week of parasite cleansing from a herbalist prepared tincture after I did a 7-day fast, 2 days of which were water. But then before that, I was having vegetable juices and some fruit smoothies and a bone broth and a couple of salads, and I really should emulate eating like that a lot more. So I kind of macro boosted for 5 days. and then did 2 days of water, and then the next morning, well, water, not just water, there was some black seed oil and there was some coconut MCT oil involved throughout. I lost about 3 kilograms, but that just went back on very quickly. And I think I eased back after my fast with some reasonable adjustments. Like, I didn't just go straight from water to having a roast dinner, but the point is, the next morning I pooped out loads and loads of worms, which alerted me to the fact that I have them, and that was an unexpected result from my pasty-faced fast. And then I just had this parasite cleanse to hand anyway. God help us all. And so now I did a week of it, and then I had more worms. I've shat out worms about 4 times now, I believe. So then I had a week of parasite cleanse, and then 2 weeks off, and now we're back into it. Who's this outside making a racket? It's closed now. You can go home. So yeah, how are you doing? I loved hitting the wall. I'm not wearing any trousers. My mum would have a fit. Let's try and put some shorts on right now. I gotta be honest, my back passage is itching ever so slightly right now. It's not normal for me, but it might be normal for someone that has worms. And I lost my viewer. I just felt like I needed some company, and jeez, don't move out of bed, it's cold. Can you, if you're a regular follower here that might do some of the things I suggest with an open mind and an inquiring brain, go to Ali's Army, ALLY, Army, AIMY, Ali's Army. I have to purchase her book as soon as I can. I think there might be a couple of books. I did find the website was having issues. Like, for example, when I went to, there's a page on alisarmy.com. It says something about a letter. Yeah, there's a letter on there. That page, when I tried to scroll, it just kept reloading the page, so I couldn't read all of that. Those guys have loads going on right now, so not the best time to tell them that their website is having problems. And I just know that the way to support them is to buy their book. They don't have a GoFundMe. I do, but it doesn't basically have any contributors. It was really badly done when I first did it, because I did it myself with no other input, didn't really want to do it. And I mean, whether or not it's come about that I haven't got any contributors to it because I don't have the faith for it, whether it just because I've never thought it would be successful, and that's why I didn't really want to do one. And it hasn't been successful, and it was quite badly written at first, and it is better now. I'm just going to assume that my posts online are not getting good reach. My reputation has had tons of blows at it. Reputation, that's a really interesting one, because it's so important, but I don't know that I would spend a lot of money on preserving mine for all time. I think that's some people's MOA. Is that the right word? Just protect the reputation at all costs, at anybody else's cost. So I think it's like having smear campaigns and people, oh, I know her, and telling stories, and that's supposed to give some authority, is it? Because know how to spell my name properly or something, like, but it doesn't. It's just people being paid to spread rumours. And then in other cases, genuine misunderstandings have happened, which has been really unsurprising that would come about, because my health is so complicated with so many different ways in which it's affected, whether it's that I'm hypothyroid and I don't believe I've been getting enough medication for that for a number of years. My battery is low, is it? Yes. Still don't see any comments here. But I'm sure that they are there, just I don't see any at all. And like, in some respects, it's really shit. Doesn't feel quite sit right to me. I don't really like asking for money, even though it's something that I've done fairly consistently, usually just to Ocean Wisdom, because he's the only person with money. I don't even know why I do that, but no, hopefully I've stopped asking for money now. But when you are, as a homeowner in a country where so few people are able to own their own homes, it does seem like, you know, a lot to ask. But on reflection, I think loads of people who have GoFundMes that have been really successful are also homeowners, and they're allowed to ask for money. So I'm not going to put it down to lack of generosity on anybody's part, least alone Ocean Wisdom, who really owes me nothing, and I owe him whatever his admin fees are for sending 6 emails a week for the last 2 years. But thanks for my thumb. No, I think what happens is there's no reach on my posts, and then I think stuff of mine which isn't quite so comprehensive gets promoted. If I write a comment that's literally dog do, it'll get promoted. If I write a comment that's well thought out, it'll get deleted. My thumbnails appear differently on this platform to how they actually are on my page. This is quite like a concerted effort to keep everything curated, and I mean, honestly, like, I was probably daft to pick up the pen name The White Rabbit again in 2020. I think it was an idea that was dropped into my head the year before, that I shouldn't have trusted, and I do feel like I was quite set up to set up in many ways. Like 2016, I was blocked from using X, Twitter, and then all the Pizzagate stuff came out, but I did not know about it until 2020, which was the worst possible time. I was forced to withdraw from Valium, diazepam, over a 2-week period, despite the fact that I took Valium every night for 4 years. Living in a new city in lockdown next door to a questionable family unit, able to identify J.E. and G.M. Maxwell for the first time since I met them when I was younger. Found out about Pizzagate for the first time, and had this hugely unhelpful pen name that I decided to resurrect. And it really lent itself to being, dismissed as whatever you want to call me, because why would I be dragging up this pen name and talking about writing? Well, I was a published poet before I acquired dysphasia, and I was also getting hit around the temples as a small child, just not over and over and over and over again as I did as an adult, but stunning. I think, like, that I was used in that respect just to muddy the waters, you know. I think it was a lot on my plate at that time, 2020, for all that stuff to come out for me. And I was turning 40 that year and looking at stuff that happened between me and my dad for the first time ever. But I have finally seen a comment, Elusive Truth. I know this comment's been there for a minute. Am I British? I've not seen Martin. Are you British? I haven't, says Elusive Truth. I have not seen Martin Dicky in a year. Not a flat earther, but my beliefs are more bizarre. Martin Liedtke. I have never heard of. I've never ever heard of. I'm a British. Yes, I was born in London, and I had my DNA looked at a few years ago before I fully understood what the capabilities of, owning a piece of my DNA might produce. But they told me that I was 70% Southern English, and then a couple of years later they told me that I was between 80 and 90% Southern English, and then a couple more years later they wrote back to tell me that I was 67% Northern English. I think there's this repeat adoption on the female side. So my mum was adopted as a baby, then my baby was adopted as a baby, was taken as a baby and adopted. And then on my dad's side, Freemasonic. So, and I think generationally so as well. So that's curiosity. And also the types of genetic disease that are certainly running now through me. Don't know if they were induced by any free medications that were injected into my arm as I was growing up that was supposed to protect me from measles and mumps and rubella, for example. But Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a genetic connective tissue disorder, ankylosing spondylitis, arthritis, endometriosis, wherever the origin of these genetic problems has been. Well, I just note that with chronic pain conditions, especially something like an Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, high levels of adrenaline are a byproduct of such a disorder. And if you ever see the zebra in fashion, zebra relates to a saying that doctors used to have, which was to do with rare diseases versus common complaints. So they would say, if you hear the sound of hooves, as in when someone comes into your office as a doctor, think of horses, not zebra. But my problem with it, as in the zebra it's like the animal is associated with rare genetic conditions. So when you see that in like Playboy magazine and so on, it's probably referring to someone that's like hypermobile, or has some other rare genetic disease. The problem is I've got with think of horses, not zebra, is like, why the hell is the horse complaining about its hooves? Only the zebra is going to be complaining about its feet, He was a flat earth British channel, Martin Liddell. Well, I mean, lots of people have really been, I think some people have taken time off the internet just to do other things. I mean, because I was worried about, I have one of his videos on my page, and I have to admit I'm really bad with names, especially since the dunk on my head. But he appeared again because I was commenting quite frantically, like, where is this guy? The Game of Thrones, one of the producers of, I think it was the Game of Thrones, he had a post on Twitter in 2020 that I reshared, and he hadn't really been seen of in a while, but he has come out of the woodwork now. Whereas people like Mouthy Buddha, John Canales, actually quite worry about them because other people have claimed that they're alive and everything. I just don't know. Just I mean, I don't have any authority to say if it's the same guy. It's quite a big change from like the PEDO Gate 2020 series and the DMT and animations and things that he used to make to his more recent content since he moved off of YouTube has been not quite as good. And as his face doesn't appear in any of his videos, obviously you could just use the same voice. Not that I have any authority to cast aspersions there. It is something that other people had questioned. Other people had been commenting on Mouthy Buddha videos that I saw a couple of years ago, saying like they didn't think that it was actually his content. So But yeah, I didn't think I was going to do any more sort of decent live streams. And I think the problem I've got with my page is just that there's so much long form content. And I was relying on these badly cut AI shorts. And I really do have to cut my own shorts. As much as I might complain about the screen time and want a green pair of, green, I want some actual green lenses, because we used to have a button on my computer. It's not my computer. At school, we used to have computers that you could push a button like under the screen. This is in the 90s, and it would make the screen green. And so everyone was always peddling yellow and orange lenses. And I'm like, well, we had a green option to ease our eyes. And why is that not available? Yeah, you were saying in your comment you deleted over 600 videos to save your channel. I mean, that is... And they were about PDFs. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And it's why the image curation had so much attention here with my uploads. I mean, I do a bad enough job of my own image curation, so I'm quite an easy target for them to manipulate views and things. I mean, I would say your channel's really, really popular, and it's probable that you could multiply your views by 10 and it might be more accurate, because they don't have to count all of our views, do they? And if they employ that here with me, one view for 10 or anything like that, then the channel doesn't really ever grow, because the views always just look tiny. Likes disappear, comments can't be seen, quite a lot of negative comments. But largely I'll take responsibility for it, for not presenting myself in the best possible light. But certainly the PDF thing has been a consistent theme in over here on what used to be known as the White Rabbit UK. And obviously it's a big club, you're not in it, neither am I. But I find it interesting, like, to compare what goes on now with the Book of Revelation. I mean, there's definitely, like, a blessing to read that book. I usually read it from the point of view that I don't really know what's going on, but it still seems fairly edifying. And in some respects, my takeaway, not from the Book of Revelation, just from everything that's going on in my lifetime, is not to say that you don't fight the good fight or nothing like that. I mean, I just wonder, I just like to stay back from the taking sides, because that's a checkerboard situation that the overlords want us to be in, or blaming any particular group for the ills in the world. Just anything that is divisive, but not from a point of view of like, oh, I'm going to take on this unity thing and wear it like a badge. I just mean, when I meditate deeply on the meaning of the oneness of humanity, it makes sense to me anyway. So it's probably nothing that I'm able to teach. But I just like to... In some ways, what I think I'm trying to say is I kind of admit to the fact that I think I'm probably defeated, and I'm just going to carry on anyway. I'm going to carry on because that's the correct thing to do. But I'm not fighting anybody else, and I think that's a trap to get caught into. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Well, thanks for joining my live. I've got 5% battery now, and I don't want to sort of long this out for a long time, but I will say that I did not know that I had parasites until I did a cleanse, and then they came out my bum. So now I'm continuing to do cleanses because I'm a mammal in my body. And we worm all other mammals that live with us, dogs, cats, horses, etc. So you wouldn't know that you didn't have worms unless you undertook a parasite cleanse of some kind. You should assume that you probably do have them. Maybe you already know this, and that's great, and you already take a parasite cleanse 2 to 3 times a year. My best advice not that you're looking for it, is to consult a medical herbalist. And here's a conspiracy theory for us all. I tried to work out how many people in this country alone, so that would be United Kingdom, not just England, graduate every single year from university with accreditation in homeopathy, medical herbalism, chiropractor, and that's just those three, okay? Just to concentrate on those three: homeopath, chiropractor, what was the other one? Herbalism. Those are university graduate courses that people take in this country every year. I tried to work it out. I reckon it's in the region of 30,000 graduates a year in the UK for those three fields of medicine. Now, I could be well off the mark. I was trying to look at how many courses, guesstimate how many students, guesstimate how many graduate. Maybe it's as low as 10,000. But that's still some 10,000 of graduates every year who should then go out and be practicing where they live. But where I live, if I want to search for a herbalist, they're in London or they're over in St Albans. There's 2 chiropractors that work in this town. This town has about maybe 20,000 people, maybe 10,000. It's not very clear how many people actually live here. We don't have a single herbalist. I don't think we have a homeopath, and we have 2 chiropractors. They're always really, really busy. So if there were to be in the region of 10,000 graduates a year in these alternative medicine areas, and they have finished their university degree and they are fully qualified now, off you go into work, there should be loads of them about, and they should be everywhere. I know that they would, be more in the cities, and this is not a city. On the one hand, you have to pay for this kind of medicine. It's not available. Often it's not available on insurance, just doesn't cover these things. Often, it's not available on the NHS flatly. And so clientele might be smaller. It's just, where do they go? And are they okay, basically? Or are they becoming mysteriously ill? Or other things like that. So that's something to think about. You do have a tremendous amount of videos. I'm talking with @ElusiveTruth. And I really respect the work that you do, and I hope you will long continue. And about my GoFundMe, it has been updated. I would just really appreciate if people actually followed the link for the GoFundMe and then follow the links in the GoFundMe. And then, especially the Substack, there's like a long letter called A Letter to My Surgeon, and that will just make a great deal of difference to me if people were actually reading it. You should post some videos on the White Rabbit theme. The right images and audio would grow your channel. Well, I did find somebody else doing that recently. 2% battery. Somebody else has been posting White Rabbit videos, like music, flashing images, and just kind of thoughts for the day. So no, I don't really want to do too much of that, because I heard, some people feel like it's a handler name. Sorry for all the noise outside. And so I don't really want to exploit it anymore, because I've run the UK off the back, so it's Twerk. I really don't like people. When I met people online in 2020, they would call me Rabbit, and I like that, but also kind of quite attached to the name Twerk. Like the dance, but also a bit like a twerp. Suits me fine. So no, I don't think I will do any White Rabbit themed stuff. Like, the name was chosen for me ages and ages ago, when I was part of a mental health peer support kind of thing. And we had a Mad Hatter's Tea Party themed World Mental Health Day sort of gathering. And so that was my costume. And then I started writing under that name because I didn't want to use my family name. So I was just like, I published under Natalie Dunbar, which was like a combination of like Natalie's the adult name for Natasha. Dunbar was another man's surname. I kind of adopted me as his daughter unofficially for a while at that time. So I was writing under Natalie Dunbar. I didn't want to use my own name, Natasha List. So I finally published my poems online. Some of them had been published in magazines and things, like I said, under the name Natalie Dunbar, and then I published them all together online. They had 10,000 hits in 2008, which for just a page poetry thing is a lot. You can find it in the Wayback Machine. I'm going to plug in now. But you won't find any of the poems because we did like a copyright protection thing, which unfortunately meant that when people saved it to the Wayback Machine, that none of the poems got saved, which was just really an unintentional consequence of having a sort of copyright thing on there, that people couldn't just copy the poems and whatnot. And then about a year after that exhibition, Blood Axe Books, the editor Neil Astley, I found him on the live chat on Facebook and said, oh, hi, did you see this poetry collection? And he said, yeah. I said, oh, that's my work. And he wanted me to send it. Well, I just had like a complete tears, and I was like, a lot more things had changed for me between the time when I finished writing the poems and then, and it was a bad decision really, but I didn't pursue it because Blood Axe Books are an amazing publisher. Twerk, TWRUK, Twerk Radio on Trash TV. I'm just really happy if there is anybody, and I know there are some people about who kind of stuck with me over the last couple of years, particularly thinking back to when I did my a dihydrocodeine withdrawal at home, and then that turned into sort of like a 2-week playlist. I mean, things have really progressed for the better since that time. And yeah, I just want to say that my last 3 lives were good performances. I'm doing all right in the Disability Arts Corner. Yes, I met Glenn Maxwell when I was a child. She allegedly, I have to be so careful when I say any of this stuff, but, you know, it might even be a bit late for that, to be honest. So I was born in Hampstead. My mum and dad separated in a few years after I was born. I was the third of 3 children between my mum and my dad. And my dad was a pederast who my parents separated over the fact that he was having a relationship with a 17-year-old when he was 39. And she went on to be my stepmom and give him 2 daughters. I have 2 older brothers as well. I was the youngest of 3. We lived in Hampstead. I was born in the Royal Free in Hampstead at the end of 1980. And then in the mid-1980s, I was going to a yoga studio in Hampstead that my mum told me the name was Ark Yoga, A-R-K, all capitals. So named because it was on Arkwright Road. It was available to see on, not Google Maps, what's it called? Apple Maps, but actually it's gone from Apple Maps. I mean, I would not want anyone to go down there and start accusing anyone of anything, but usually people that do stuff like that have been set up by the GOV to do it anyway. It's just, when I was going to that yoga studio, I remember Glenn being there, probably as a volunteer, I would say. This is like 85, 86 sort of time. And the only reason I remember Glenn being there was because in about 91, 92, so I was like 11 or 12, I was at Kenwood Park at a summer concert with my dad, who I mentioned was a pederast and a high-level businessman selling homes in Hampstead, high-level Freemason, died head of his lodge, Freemason, and his lodge was in London, as in the city of London. And so we were taken from, there was a group, there was like a group of us children in Ark Yoga, but then there was a group from the group that would go to Hampstead Theatre, not the Hampstead Theatre that's in Hampstead, which is above a pub in a set location, but a place called Hampstead Theatre, which is in Swiss Cottage, which my mum told me was a mobile theatre. Obviously it was static, but it could be moved. I I think you can still find this information on the internet. If you Google Hampstead Theatre Swiss Cottage, you'll find pictures of a large theatre, whereas Hampstead Theatre in Hampstead is a small studio type of a theatre. I've been to it as an adult, so I know the difference. And basically in that theatre, we were drugged. That's all I can tell you. But then at the age of about 11 at Kenwood Park, I just got the unction to leave the adults. I said to my dad, I'm going to go and look at the stalls around the outside of the perimeter of the, you know, where everyone's sitting listening to music, to this open air concerts that they have there every weekend in the summer at Kenwood in Highgate, which is near Hampstead. But I didn't really have any intention of going to look at the stalls. They're just like coffee shop, ice cream, National Trust Information Centre. I actually went out of the enclosure, down and across the field, back up to Kenwood House. When I got to the gardens, there's a couple of features about that garden. There is a walkway which is like got some flowers growing over it. You know what I mean? There's probably a proper name for it. And there was a statue in the middle of the garden, which is solid stone, which looks a bit like a figure of 8. So over the other side of the garden were Glenn Maxwell and J.E. In the bushes. She was like immediately identifiable, but like I said, not until 2020, not until I actually saw them, and I was blocked from using Twitter in 2016. I didn't follow any of the stuff that was happening with Pizzagate or Trump or anything, because I was interested in Bernie Sanders, and that was kind of where my interest ended. So I didn't identify those two, JE and GM, until 2020 as the two people that tried to abduct me from Kenwood Park. And her, from a couple of years earlier, she was just around at the yoga place. I can just remember her being there. And she was saying to me, like, come here, and talking to me about the statue of 8 figure, referring to it as a womb and saying this is where all life comes from. And I, not being mean to myself, but I was a bit of a, like, dumpy, stupid kid. I didn't have a clue what she was talking about. She was saying to me, come here. He was saying nothing. He was hunched over. He had, like, some kind of, like a handkerchief on his head, not an actual handkerchief or trying to relate at all to code words. I mean, you know, like a scarf thing. I thought it was 2 women. He was like hunched over with the white hair, bit of white grey hair, the shawl, the thing on his head. It looked like a young woman and an old woman. And I was about to go with them, because if you ever get a chance to go to Kenwood Park in Highgate, you'll see that there are lots of like breaks in the bushes and stuff that have these little trails that are off the main trail, but they all sort of join back up together again. So it's not unusual to see people kind of disappear between the bushes because they've just taken a little shortcut back onto the main trail. And that's where those two were. And I was about to go with them. And my dad came running up behind us and screamed my name, grabbed my arm. Those two said nothing, obviously, like, were shocked that someone had come and found them with what they were doing. And I think they just exchanged some stupid pleasantries or something. But my dad was suspicious enough that when we got back to the rest of the group, he said 2 women just tried to abduct Natasha. That was my name. That's my given family name. He's now dead. He was also like my primary abuser, because he had sex with me up until the age of 10. So I guess they had some compromat on him. I don't know. I think they would have known, like, that he was active with me. And then afterwards, weird things started happening. Like, my dad would talk about his phone being tapped. Some of the names associated with the Epstein files were commonly heard in my house when I was growing up, like Les Wexner for one. Just some of the names, just I don't want to reel any of them off, because I don't want to have got confused between things I've heard 100 times on the internet and what was heard at my dad's house when I was 10. But there were names associated with the files that were mentioned at my dad's house. yeah, that's all really. But unfortunately for me, in some respects, like, this kind of came to light at a time when I had a load of problems. I was in just a really bad place. Well, the worst is just reading your comments, so sad. The worst part really is that my daughter was then taken when she was born. And then I had a hit put on me in 2024. I survived like a triple spiking. I had 3 needle marks on my arms. It's a really long, convoluted story that I don't really want to. Well, I can tell you actually quite briefly. It was the June equinox 2 years ago, or like 3 Junes ago now, 2024. I didn't know it was June equinox until later on when I realised it had been equinox. And basically, there was a fake busker outside my street, and he'd been there twice before. And one of my sort of sensitive points is like noise and so on. I've really had to learn not to allow myself to get provoked by these sorts of things that have happened to me. I had people coming into my home and leaving signs that they'd been in my home. It's now secured. But I've learned not to let them have my reactions. It's been a bit of growth for me, a lot of growth for me, because going back 2 years ago, I didn't have that same mentality. I heard this busker in the street. All he was doing was playing guitar really, really badly, like just playing a discordant chord over and over again. That's what he'd done previously twice. And then he'd go like half an hour and he'd leave. But this time I went outside. I went downstairs and I saw my arm. God bless me. I went down and saw him, and I said to him, "You're you're the worst guitar player I've ever heard." And then I saw that he had a man in a high-vis waistcoat, yellow waistcoat, next to him. So the busker had really long, bad hair, and then the other guy had no hair, shaved head. So then I start saying, "You're not a real busker. What busker has a security guard with him?" And then the security man was like holding on to me, and a third person who I didn't see came out of somewhere, and there was like a grapple, and then I was let go, and then I thought that I was like, wow, I'm amazed that I didn't get into trouble there, because it's usually me getting into trouble for these things. So I walked away, and within a few minutes, I came up on the most amount of drugs that I've never taken that much drugs in my life. I'm going to assume fentanyl. No, I didn't have any toxicology reports or anything. Either they didn't get enough into me, or they underestimated how much they would need to unalive me, because I have survived 2 intentional opiate overdoses in my life. I've taken opiate drugs on prescription as prescribed every day for over 10 years. So I had 3 needle scratch marks on my arm. But it helped me, obviously, number 1, because I survived it. Number 2, there were witnesses. People saw this happen. And so it actually took a situation where people didn't believe my allegations to people being much more locally, perhaps, open-minded to believe me, because someone literally tried to kill me in front of their eyes. But other than that, I had, you should always, like, make sure you protect your head, like your temples. I think you'll find a lot of victims of CSA will have had, like, some kind of temporal lobe head injury, or maybe ECT, or maybe just given a neuroleptic. Antipsychotic drugs seem to have a very similar effect. I mean, if someone hits you, not you, God forbid, but if someone is hit to the point where they lose their ability to speak because they're punch drunk, they're not going to be able to tell you that they've become punch drunk, if that makes any sense. And then there's no visible bruises on the sides of the head, unless they miss, and then you might, like, have one here, not you, God forbid. Well, anyway, these are just my words. I'm not speaking anything like that into existence. The only thing I might be able to speak into existence is some prayers, and these are not prayers. I mean, sometimes when people, like, are in care and everything, and they have problems with hurting themselves, they actually wear, like, a kind of a helmet and so on. This has been enough, hasn't it? 44.5 minutes or something, not nearly 45 minutes. Yeah, thanks for anybody. If there must be some people out there who've stuck with this journey, because it's nice when I turn around and I get some decent performance workout. I really hope that waters haven't been muddied too much. I mean, I'm just like, practically speaking, an innocent bystander in this that had my pen name ripped off by a psyop. So I suppose they could laugh at me when I realised where I'd been, and they knew years before where I'd been. And one of my friends at that time was also in the group that used to go to the theatre, and that's mentioned in the Epstein files, but I don't have a legitimate number or anything. I think I just have a screenshot where they talk about 2 witnesses and one of them changed her name. That could be me and my friend, because I certainly changed my name, and I don't think you would say that about someone that just got married and changed their last name. I didn't change my last name, I changed my first name. And it's just curious to me, because we were best friends and we did both go to the same yoga studio and the same theatre at the same time. Our families were connected back then. I certainly have changed my name, but it's not clear from the email in the Epstein files on the DOJ website, like, who they're actually talking about, or, like, you know, yeah, that's the only thing that I found in there. The point is that we were like, the group of us that went to Hampstead Theatre, we were trafficked through that theatre. We were like, as a group of children, 6, 7 years of age. So it does F up the narrative quite a lot that the only survivors of Epstein were teenage girls at the time, because we were literal children. Yeah, so, all right, I'm going to go. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. or Mrs. Elusive Truth. And we are the people. I don't know, do you know, I feel like you have to end with like some pithy, like bringing it all together thing? I don't have